Large withdrawals require special verification. The bank manager's voice cracked through the lobby like a whip. Heads turned, papers still. Conversations died. I tightened my grip on the counter. Here's my ID, my account number. Everything matches. I need my money today. He scanned my license, then lifted his gaze, lips curling with something more than skepticism. Verification, ma'am. We can't risk fraud, a cough echoed behind me. Then a whisper, why doesn't she just take what they give her and leave? Heat climbed my neck. My voice trembled but held. I've banked here for years, decades. You know my name. You know this account? He leaned back in his chair, arms folded. Policy doesn't bend for special cases. His pause wasn't accidental. The word special dripped like poison. I heard the shuffling of shoes behind me. A mutter from someone waiting, always looking for exceptions. I steadied myself. My father's voice flickered in memory. Dignity doesn't shout, it stands even when they try to bury it. Special cases? I repeated, my jaw tightening. What does that mean here? My money isn't special. It's mine. I earned it. I deposited it. Now I want to withdraw it. The manager sighed as if bored. Look, ma'am. This isn't about you being black. It's about policy. The words dropped like stones in a silent pond. His smirk made my stomach twist. I lowered my voice. When you say that, it is exactly about me being black. If I looked like you, would this conversation still be happening? His eyes flickered toward the line behind me, then back. He didn't answer. A man 2 spots down murmured to his wife. Not softly enough. Always pulling the race card, I wanted to spin around, to demand they look me in the eye when they said it. But their silence, their cowardice, was worse than his sneer. Silence is easy when the humiliation belongs to someone else. Policy protects the bank. He continued, drumming his fingers on the desk. We're responsible for safeguarding. Assets, big withdrawals require approval. I snapped back, voice sharper than I intended. Safeguarding from who? From me? A woman who has trusted you with her life savings for years? He stiffened, lowering his tone but not his disdain. Ma'am, lowering your voice would help. Causing a scene isn't going to change policy. I laughed bitterly. Causing a scene? You humiliated me in front of a room full of strangers. And now I'm the problem because I won't stay quiet. A hush fell heavier over the lobby. No one spoke up. No one said she's right. Their silence coiled around me like a rope. He leaned closer, his whisper colder than the public barbs. If you're dissatisfied, perhaps you should consider banking elsewhere. I met his gaze and felt the sting behind my eyes. This isn't dissatisfaction. This is theft disguised as procedure. He slid my ID back across the counter like it carried disease. Please step aside, ma'am. You're holding up real customers. The words hit harder than any slap. Real customers? As if my black skin made my money counterfeit. My presence an inconvenience. I stood there, my hands trembling against the polished counter, the weight of dozens of eyes pressing into my back. Not one voice broke the silence. Not one. Their silence screamed louder than his insults. I picked up my ID, my heart pounding in my throat. My voice cracked, but I forced the words out. When they hide cruelty behind policy, you learn policy was written for their comfort, not your survival. I turned toward the exit, my steps heavy, my chest burning, as the glass doors shut behind. A thought carved itself into my bones. That was the moment I swore their comfort ends where my dignity begins. I sat on the cold stone ledge outside the bank, my hands still trembling around the ID I had clutched too tightly. The glass doors hissed open behind me, spilling laughter and chatter into the street as though nothing had happened. My humiliation had already become someone else's entertainment. A soft voice broke through the noise. I saw what happened. I lifted my head. One of the teller's young, black eyes darting like he feared being caught stood just inside the doorway. He stepped out, adjusting his tie nervously. I exhaled sharply. You saw. And you said nothing. He winced. I wanted to speak up. But he's my boss. If I challenge him, I could lose my job. His whisper barely carried over the hum of traffic. I stared at him, my throat tight. Your silence felt louder than his insults. He looked at the ground, shuffling his shoes. I thought maybe if I kept my head down, it would pass. Pass? My voice cracked, bitter. It didn't pass. It sat on my chest like a weight, while you turned your face away. His lips trembled, but he didn't deny it. I'm sorry. I wanted to help. I just froze. You froze, I muttered, shaking my head, and I burned. The doors opened again. A middle-aged white man strode out, talking loudly to his wife. Rules are rules. She shouldn't make a scene. His wife nodded. People always looking for special treatment. The words sliced through me like fresh glass. I turned toward the teller, my voice dropping. Do you hear them? Do you see how easily they bury me under the word rules? He swallowed hard. Yes, and do you see how your silence gives them permission? His shoulders slumped. I'm not like them. Then why did you act like them? My voice trembled with the betrayal that stung deeper than the manager's smirk. Because when I looked around for one who would see me as human, I saw you, and you stared at your desk. His eyes watered. You're right. Another customer brushed past us, muttering under his breath, always drama. That's why nothing changes. I laughed bitterly. Nothing changes because people like you, I turned to the teller, choose safety over justice. He whispered. Desperate. You don't understand what it's like to depend on a paycheck, to worry that speaking up could. I cut him off, my voice sharp. Don't you dare? Don't you dare tell me I don't understand survival? My whole life has been survival. I swallowed humiliation so my children could eat. I bowed my head so my mortgage wouldn't slip away. But today I asked for what was mine, and you let them treat me like a thief. His face crumpled. He pressed his palm to his forehead. I'm sorry. I rose slowly from the ledge, my knees stiff but my voice firm. Sorry doesn't scrape the silence off my skin. Sorry doesn't erase the whispers that followed me out of those doors. He whispered, almost to himself, I should have spoken. Yes, I said, my throat aching, because silence was the real weapon today. His insults cut, but your silence let them believe they were right. He reached out as if to stop me, but his hand froze midair. I stepped back, staring at him one last time. Their comfort came at the cost of my dignity, and you helped them buy it cheap. I turned away, the city air sharp against my face, carrying their whispers with me like ghosts that refused to loosen their grip. The betrayal burned deeper than the insult, and I knew this wound wouldn't fade quietly. I carried their silence like a stone, heavy, unshakable, and I vowed it would not crush me twice. The phone buzzed in my palm long after I'd stopped crying. I pressed it to my ear, my voice still raw. Hello? Tell me everything, my brother's voice boomed, firm and sharp like he'd been waiting for this call. I swallowed. They refused me my own money, in front of everyone. Like I was trying to steal. A pause, heavy, dangerous. Then he growled, Sue them. Don't let them bury this. I laughed bitterly. Courtrooms? You know what happens in those rooms? They'll twist my words until I sound like the aggressor. They'll paint me angry, unstable, undeserving. I'll walk in a victim and leave branded a liar. His breath hit the receiver like fire. And if you do nothing, they win twice. Once in that bank, and again in your silence. I closed my eyes. The sound of whispers in the lobby still clung to me. Rules are rules. She shouldn't make a scene. I don't have the strength to be their spectacle, I murmured. You've always had the strength, he snapped. You just forget it when they corner you. That's what they want, your exhaustion. That's their weapon. My hand clenched around the phone. You didn't see his smirk? You didn't hear the way his voice carried, making sure every eye in that room knew exactly who didn't belong. I don't need to, he muttered. I've seen it 1,000 times. Different faces, same script, that's why you fight. I whispered, half to myself, fight how? With lawyers who'll smile at me while cutting my throat? With judges who see my skin before they hear my case? His voice softened like he'd reached across time. Do you remember what Dad used to say? I felt the air still around me. My chest tightened. Power isn't given, he finished. Steady, certain. It's taken with dignity intact. My throat closed. I saw my father's face for a flash, weathered but unbroken, standing in line at the bank decades ago when they told him his loan was denied. I was a child, clutching his hand when he whispered, "Walk tall. Never let them see you crawl." Tears stung my eyes. Dignity doesn't pay court fees. Dignity doesn't stop them from dragging my name. No, my brother agreed. But dignity keeps you standing when they try. And you have more than dignity. You have leverage. Don't pretend you. Don't, I stiffened. What do you mean? Don't play with me, he said flatly. I know you. You've been building something quietly. Investments, savings, land. I can hear it in your voice every time you dodge questions about retirement. You've been planting seeds. I didn't answer. My silence was admission, he pressed on. You don't need to beg for power in their courts. You can take it elsewhere. Show them that the woman they tried to humiliate controls more than they ever imagined. My pulse quickened. That's not the same as justice. No, he said, it's bigger. Justice fades when the headlines do, but power lingers. I bit down hard on my lip. My despair twisted into something sharper. The thought of that manager's smirk haunted me, but beneath it a new image grew. Me. Unbent, untouchable, owning the very ground he walked on. I whispered, "You really believe I can turn this?" "I don't believe," he replied firmly. "I know, because if you don't, then everything Dad taught us dies in that lobby with their whispers." My hand trembled, but no longer from humiliation. "Then I won't let it die," I breathed. The line went quiet. Just our breaths meeting in the charged silence. "I'll fight," I whispered, the words steady now. "Not just in their courts, but in mine. I'll use what I've built. I'll take what they said I shouldn't have, and I'll do it standing tall." "That's the sister I know," he murmured, relief breaking through the steel in his tone. I closed my eyes, letting resolve seep into the cracks of my shame. They wanted me small, but I've been building too long, too quietly, to stay small now. His laugh was low, proud. "Then let them see what silence has been growing all these years." The call ended, but his words lingered. Power isn't given. It's taken. I stared at my reflection in the darkened screen, my own eyes fierce. They had planted humiliation. But I carried the seed of resolve. And I knew, when it bloomed, it would not be gentle. The cafe air buzzed before I even stepped in. Conversations dipped when eyes flicked toward me, then rose again with low murmurs that clung like smoke. I pressed myself against the thin wall of the corridor. Breath held, every nerve sharp. Their voices leaked through the half-closed door, careless because they thought no one else could hear. She wanted more money than someone like her should have. The manager's voice rasped, a pause, then a colder tone cut in. "Do you realize what you're saying out loud? Keep it quiet. Don't make this public," another voice muttered, low and bitter. "We can't have headlines about discrimination. Not now, not when the board is already under scrutiny." My stomach turned. Humanity discarded in the same breath as reputation. "She's dangerous," the manager hissed. She looked me in the eye like she belonged. If people believe her story, others will start asking questions, and questions cost money. A nervous laugh floated in the room, clipped and hollow. "She doesn't have the resources to fight us. Most of them never do." But the optics chairs scraped. A fist hit the table. "Optics will bury us faster than any lawsuit. Keep her quiet, offer her something, enough to pacify. But no apologies, never apologies." My nails dug crescents into my palm. Their words bled into me, each syllable proof of what I already knew, but they had never dared say aloud in public. "She humiliated herself," the manager insisted. "We didn't do anything wrong." "Wrong?" The superior's voice cracked with irritation. "Right and wrong don't matter here. Perception does. If the story spreads, we'll have vultures press, lawyers, activists circling. Do you want that blood on your record?" Their silence was louder than shouting. I could almost see their faces even without the door open, suits tightening, jaws locked, fear masked as arrogance. "She has to be contained," one whispered. Contained. Like I was a fire. Like I was a disease. I bit my tongue to keep from storming in, from tearing the door wide and throwing their words back into their throats. But silence became my shield. Listening was sharper than speaking. Another voice, calm but laced with unease. Do you even know who she is? What she has? We assumed she'd back down. What if she doesn't? The manager scoffed. She'd tire herself out. They always do. Noise fades. I closed my eyes, steadying the storm that churned inside me. They feared headlines more than humanity. And that fear, that fragile, cracking shield, was my weapon. I stepped back, slow and deliberate, leaving their door shut tight. Their secrets would not stay inside that room forever. Girl, you're the headline without a paper, one of my friends blurted the second I sat down. Her tone carried both pity and awe. They humiliated you, but now everyone's talking about it. My chest tightened, but I forced my voice steady. Talking doesn't mean believing. Another leaned forward, her whisper sharp. You know how this goes? They'll deny it, they'll twist it. Before long, you'll be painted as angry, irrational, just another black woman causing trouble. My jaw ached from clenching. Let them paint, let them talk. The truth doesn't need their permission. Silence stretched between us, filled with clinking mugs and a hiss from the espresso machine. A man at the next table muttered to his companion, not bothering to lower his voice. I heard she stormed in demanding cash she didn't even have. My hand froze halfway to my cup. My friend shot him a glare. You don't know what you're talking about, he smirked, shrugging. I'm just repeating what I heard. If it wasn't true, it wouldn't spread so fast, would it? His words landed like stones. I turned to him, my voice low but sharp enough to cut. Lies spread faster than truth because cowards carry them. His smirk faltered and he looked away. My friend squeezed my hand under the table, trembling. Another friend murmured, See, this is what I meant. They'll use their whispers as weapons. I exhaled slowly, steadying the storm in my chest. And I'll use them as mirrors. Gossip shows people's fears, not just their lies. If they fear me enough to distort me, then I already hold more weight than they admit. She frowned, confused. You call this power? Yes. My voice firmed. Humiliation can shrink a person, but it can also spread like fire, forcing people to look, even when they'd rather turn away. They wanted me invisible. Now I'm on their tongues. A woman at the counter turned, hesitated, then stepped closer. Her voice was cautious. I was there in the bank. I didn't speak. I should have. Her confession sliced deeper than the gossip, I whispered. Your silence hurt more than his words. Her eyes dropped, her shoulders folding. I know. But I heard people tonight, outside, defending you, saying it was wrong what they did. Not everyone's against you. My chest softened for a moment, but the ache lingered. I don't need everyone, I just need enough. Back at the table, one friend muttered, But gossip ruins reputations. It can bury you alive. I shook my head. It can bury or it can plant. It depends on whether I hide or let it grow roots in the open. They can talk all they want soon. I'll give them something worth talking about. A hush fell across the table. My words tasted like resolve, sharp and undeniable. My closest friend leaned in, whispering, What are you planning? I let the question hang, savoring the weight it gave me. You'll see, I murmured, eyes fixed on the cafe window where faces passed. Some curious, some cold. Outside, the world whispered my name like a curse or a prayer. Inside, I let the storm brew, knowing gossip was no longer just noise, it was wind, and I was learning how to make it move in my favor. I slid into the dim corner of the cafe, my hands clutching my coffee like a lifeline. Across from me, the investor leaned back, eyes scanning the empty room as if walls had ears. They're desperate, he murmured, voice low, almost a hiss. Stocks are weak. A bailout could topple him overnight. I swallowed, my throat dry. You mean I could actually take control? My voice trembled, not from excitement, but from fear of stepping into a world I'd always loathed. He gave a slow, calculating nod. If you act now, yes. They wouldn't see it coming? One wrong move and it's over. I clenched my fists beneath the table, trying to ground myself. This isn't just about money. It's about standing tall when the world tries to kneel. You I don't want to become like them, I whispered, almost to myself. Vengeance disguised as justice, it's still vengeance. He leaned forward, eyes piercing. And dignity? That's not hidden in silence. It's in taking what's rightfully yours without begging, without apology. I exhaled, letting his words sink. Images flashed in my mind, the manager's smirk, the whispers behind my back, the silent complicity of onlookers. Rage twisted into resolve. I'm ready, I said, my voice stronger than I expected. Let's not whisper about justice. Let's buy it. The investor's lips quirked in a subtle smile. Finally, someone who understands power isn't granted, it's claimed. My phone buzzed, my brother's name glowed on the screen. I answered quickly, trying to steady my voice. I'm doing it, I murmured. I'm taking the bib out. I need your advice on the legal end. I don't want a single loophole for him. To crawl through, his deep voice came steady but tense. You're making history. Just remember, power magnifies who you already are. Stay you. I will, I snapped softly, almost defensive. I won't let this turn me bitter. But I won't be small anymore. Hanging up, I felt the weight shift in my chest. Fear still lingered, but it had softened into something sharper, something purposeful. Dignity doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't ask. It commands. The investor slid a folder across the table. Everything you need. Shareholders, debts, vulnerabilities. Move fast, act smart. The window won't last. I picked it up, feeling the power pulse in my hands. Each page was a map, a key, a weapon. I flicked through numbers and notes, absorbing what the bank thought was hidden from me. It wasn't just money, it was leverage, influence, and the truth laid bare. I've waited too long, I murmured, voice catching. Too long letting fear dictate my steps. Not anymore. The investor leaned back, satisfied. Good one. Step, and the balance shifts. But remember, you're not just buying a bank, you're reclaiming respect they thought they could deny you forever. I nodded, fists unclenching as confidence seeped in. The terror of becoming like them lingered. Yes, but it was tempered with the knowledge that my approach would be deliberate, moral, precise. Justice doesn't roar, it moves like shadowed water. Patient and unstoppable. As I left the cafe, the night air hit my face. My heart still thudded, but with each step it steadied. This wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. My dignity had demanded action, and now I had a path forward. They had humiliated me once, but they would not do it again, not silently, not publicly, not ever, and somewhere deep inside, I smiled. Fear had given way to power. Fear had given way to resolve. I was ready to walk back in, not as the woman they dismissed, but as the one holding the reins. I stepped into the bank lobby, the familiar hum of fluorescent lights and whispered chatter. Now feeling like the calm before a storm. Managers clustered near the front, eyes darting nervously as if they could sense the shift in the air. Back again? The manager sneered, voice laced with condescension. Still, no withdrawal? I let the corners of my mouth lift ever so slightly, my voice steady, calm but carrying the weight of every indignity I'd endured. Not a withdrawal, I murmured, letting the words linger like smoke. A takeover. As of today, this bank belongs to me. A stunned silence crashed over the room, punctuated only by sharp gasps. The employees froze, customers whispered among themselves, and the manager's smirk faltered, slipping into something unrecognizable panic. That's impossible, he stammered, voice cracking. His hands twitched at his sides, a subtle mirror of his disbelief. I took a slow step forward, letting my presence fill the space. What was impossible yesterday is my reality today. Dignity doesn't ask for permission. My voice rang clear, unyielding. Every syllable carried the weight of every insult, every silent witness, every slight that had tried to shrink me. The manager's face flushed a dark red, and his words came out in a hurried jumble. You can't aboard the board is aware, I interrupted, voice slicing through his flustered defense. And they agree. You see, while you were busy mocking me, I was learning, observing, investing. Power isn't given, it's earned, and today it's mine. A ripple of murmurs spread through the room. Employees shifted uncomfortably, some avoiding his gaze entirely, as if the floor itself had swallowed their courage. Customers leaned closer, curious, excited, maybe even vindicated. He began again, faltering. This isn't, I raised a hand. Not in threat, but in quiet authority. It is reality. Your arrogance, your cruelty, your mockery today, it meets the consequences it deserves. Silence and fear are no longer your allies. And the world, I glanced at the murmuring customers, doesn't side with cruelty forever. His fists clenched at his sides, rage, denial, humiliation, it all played across his features, collapsing him in front of the very witnesses who once stayed silent. He looked around frantically, searching for support that wasn't coming. I inhaled deeply, letting the room absorb my presence. You've had your chance to act with humanity. You chose policy over people, mockery over respect. I chose differently. A few employees exchanged glances, a subtle nod here, a quiet murmur, their small acknowledgments of the power shift. The same crowd that had once whispered in complacency now witnessed transformation, not just of wealth, but of dignity restored. You'll regret this. He finally snapped, voice trembling. I let out a soft, almost sad smile. Regret is yours to bear. I bear nothing but the weight of what's right. The manager's shoulders sagged as he realized the room no longer feared him. He was exposed. Stripped bare in every sense. His authority had crumbled, replaced by my presence, my resolve, my reclamation of every moment he thought to humiliate me. I paused, letting the silence press against his unraveling composure. Then, gently, I added, remember this moment. Remember that dignity isn't borrowed, it's reclaimed, and it can never be stolen from the one who refuses to bow. The room held its breath, the echoes of my words settling into each corner. Gasps faded into whispers, whispers into acknowledgement. The power had shifted entirely, and I could feel it pulse through the walls, through the staff, through the silent witnesses who had once looked away. And in that shift, in that quiet triumph, I allowed myself a brief, steadying breath. The collapse wasn't just, it was the end of every injustice he thought he could wield against me. The poetic justice wasn't loud. It was undeniable. I stepped back, letting the murmurs grow around me, letting my own heart settle. Today, the bank, the witnesses, and my dignity were aligned. And for the first time since that humiliating day, I felt uncheckable, power reclaimed, silence broken, dignity restored. I pushed open the manager's office door, the click echoing louder than expected. The room, once a fortress of arrogance, now felt small, constricting, like it couldn't hold the weight of his crumbling authority. He looked up, eyes wide, mouth twitching. You set me up, this is revenge, he spat, voice trembling with a mixture of anger and fear. I leaned against the edge of his desk, letting the silence stretch before I spoke. No, this isn't revenge, I murmured, letting each word land. Like deliberate footsteps. This is dignity. You denied me what was mine. I claimed what was yours. He flinched as if my words had struck him physically. You can't just take this, it's impossible. I folded my arms, voice calm, unwavering. Impossible is what you told me yesterday. Reality is what I built quietly, patiently. Every decision, every investment, it wasn't about hurting you. It was about standing tall while you laughed at my humiliation. His hands shook as he pushed papers aside, a futile attempt at maintaining control. You never imagined that someone you dismissed, mocked, humiliated would outthink you, I interrupted softly, letting my tone carry both sadness and triumph. But I did. And now, this office, this bank, the people you thought were beneath you, they're part of a world that no longer bends for your comfort. He sank into his chair, shoulders slumping. Regret and bitterness collided across his features, a mix of confusion and helplessness. I thought you thought fear and silence would protect you, I said quietly, stepping closer. You thought the whispers of your employees, the avoidance of your customers, would shield you. But fear has a shelf life, and silence breaks eventually. Today it broke you. Outside the office, I could hear the low murmur of voices. Employees peeked from doorways, Customers leaned in from the lobby, hesitant but drawn to the shift that had quietly taken place over weeks. Some nodded subtly, a brief acknowledgement of the justice they had silently watched unfold. I turned and walked toward the main floor, letting the sound of my steps carry through the bank. "Good morning," I said to a teller who once avoided my gaze. She looked at me, eyes wide, and managed a small smile. "Good morning, ma'am," she whispered. A customer approached, hesitating, then offered a polite nod. "Congratulations," he murmured. His tone was cautious but genuine. The respect I had been denied in whispers and sideways glances now came freely. Even if belated, I paused for a moment, taking it all in. Their acknowledgement felt small, delayed, but it wasn't mine to demand. My dignity had arrived quietly, fully, right on time, back in the office. I heard him muttering to himself, a stream of apologies, regrets, and bitter defenses. He wasn't defeated by me alone, he was confronted by the reality of every choice. He had made every slight, every whispered dismissal of my humanity. I exhaled, letting a subtle calm settle into my chest. "Justice isn't always a gavel's sound," I said softly, almost to myself. "It's the silence after a racist man learns the world no longer bends for his comfort." Stepping out fully into the bank's main floor, I felt the shift. The air itself seemed lighter, the energy of the room uncoiling from years of fear and misplaced power. I didn't need applause, murmurs, or acknowledgement. I had reclaimed what mattered, my voice, my presence, my dignity. People met my gaze now not with fear, but with recognition. And that recognition, delayed as it was, felt enough. I walked through the bank slowly, taking in the transformed expressions, the subtle nods of respect, the absence of mocking smirks. I didn't need their approval to validate me. I had validated myself in the quietest, most unyielding way. The manager remained in his office, slumped, absorbed in his own collapse. I spared him a glance, one final look at a man forced to face the consequences of his arrogance, cruelty, and dismissal of others. And I turned away, leaving him with that reckoning, letting silence be the loudest response outside. The sun was bright, the day ordinary, yet it felt charged with the weight of change. I had won not through vengeance, not through anger, but by standing tall, refusing to bow, and reclaiming the dignity they all tried to deny me. And in that reclamation, in that quiet, unassailable victory, I found peace.